Welcome everybody to episode 1 of Fourth and Gold. This is going to be a weekly podcast where we talk about everything NFL. Any topics that you want us to talk about, we will go there and give you our views. So my name is Rob. We've also got Jay and Paul. They're going to give you a little bit of information about themselves in a sec, but I'll start off with myself, how I got into NFL. So I lived in the US. Back in 06, I moved to Los Angeles. My first experience of a college game was the Rose Bowl by USC and Texas. Not a good game for me, being a USC fan. One of the best games you'll ever see. You had over 10 future NFL players in this game. One of the most incredible games. You got Vince Young, Reggie Bush, Lendale White, Brian Cushing, so many, Jamal Charles. And yeah, fell in love with it ever since. Go over to Jay.
Jay here. Been watching NFL for about 15 years now, probably a bit less than these guys, but really have become obsessed with it. I love the sport. I also have a very strong affinity for my 49ers, basically a super fan of the San Francisco 49ers, thanks to my dad. It all really started with my dad, actually, because he said one day we should go to a London game, and it just wasn't interesting to me. But I went, and the rest is history. The second game that I went to, I saw Adrian Peterson explode for a 60-yard touchdown, and that was really the first time I sort of said, wow, like, is that meant to happen? Later that year, I saw that in the early hours in the UK, the Seattle Seahawks versus the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and an infamous play where Colin Kaepernick threw it to the end zone, Richard Sherman tipped it, and Bobby Wagner retrieved it for an interception to end the game. That was the first heart-wrenching of many moments I've had as a 49ers fan. But that was the first time that I knew. I said to myself, man, I love the NFL. This is everything that I could ever dream of. And so, yeah, this is where we are now. I'm obsessed with it. I love watching film. I take it in every day. And that's where I am. Loving the game more and more every day. Yeah. So I think I'll hand it over to Paul.
So NFL for me, like these guys have just touched upon, has been like an obsession for me for a long time, longer than I care to disclose at this stage. But like, sports for me, growing up here in London, like just weren't doing it for me. Football, rugby, obviously our football, just weren't doing it for me. So when I got into NFL, it was just, this is it. This is the one. It's the thing. Like the pure blend of like size, power, raw athleticism, the hitting, the violence that goes on the fields, legal, illegal. Just love this game. And I'm frustrated sometimes when I listen to people discuss NFL, how I want more to come from it, from what they say. And I like to think that us three, we've got some opinions, take it or leave it. Hopefully we can bring some value to you guys, and that's what we're here to do. So let's go.
Sounds good to me.
Right. Let's go.
The first topic we're going to touch upon is picks for the year. We're going to go with playoff teams for or let's start off with divisional winners. In the AFC, who wants to shoot off first with their AFC picks, the division winners?
Okay, I'll go. Right. AFC, I've done this over the summer, and then I redid it over the last week, and it came out identical. So something's telling me that this is what I'm thinking. So the AFC North, the winners are the Bengals at 13-4. the Jaguars are going to win the South at 12-5, although they run close by the Titans, which surprised me at first. But the Titans have got a deceptively easy schedule. When you go through it game by game, they actually roll off quite a few wins, the Titans. So don't forget about the Titans this year. The Chiefs run away with the West, but only come out with a 12-5 record. The Bills win the East at 11-6. Dolphins and Jets close behind at 10-7. So I've got the Bengals, Jaguars, Chiefs, and Bills. Boring, but they're exactly the same division winners as last year. And wildcards, I've got the Ravens, who run the Bengals very close. The Ravens, look out for them. They've got a very easy schedule to start off. They could easily go 6-1, 7-0 to start, the Ravens, and then suddenly they're rolling. The Titans making the playoffs, the Tennessee Titans, and the Dolphins just on conference record over the Jets. They're my AFC teams.
Okay,
very interesting.
Jay, let's hear your AFC picks then.
Okay, I mean, a lot of what Paul said resonated in my decision making, specifically the AFC North. I do have it between the Ravens and the Bengals, and I do think it will run very close. But I'm going to go with the Ravens to win the division this year.
Okay.
I think these two are probably two of the better teams in the NFL. But this is this is a risky pick because we know of the Ravens' injury history. But all I can go on is what they've got, and hope for the best injury wise. Because when Lamar Jackson plays, he wins a lot of games, and now he's got more weapons than he's ever had. And we know Baltimore, they pride themselves on defense. So that's my reasoning. But I do think the Bengals will run them very close. As we move on to the AFC East, I was very, very close to saying the Bills weren't going to make the playoffs. And you guys know that I do have a very strong admiration, shall we say, for Josh Allen. But I've had a change of heart. Okay. And I'm going to say that the Bills do retain because even though I think their roster is lacking in certain areas, certainly from a star point of view, I think that they're still good enough where they're going to win enough games to win what will be a very competitive division. I do think it'll be very competitive, more so than probably ever before in the NFC East. Sorry, the AFC East. So as we move on, AFC South, I also have the Jaguars winning the division. I agree. I think that the Titans will be the closest competition. It's a team that maybe I didn't respect early in the off season, but you look at the Titans; they are very well coached. Their D will still, their defense is one that always gives the Chiefs problems. And then you've got to look at what they've done on offense. They still have King Henry. Eventually, he is going to fall off, but we seem to, wait for that to happen every year, and it doesn't come. So he's still primed to have another big year. And now they've got the X factor. If he can stay healthy, they've got DeAndre Hopkins. So they will be, I think, the closest competitor. But given where the Jaguars are, the trajectory they're on, the addition of Calvin Ridley to an already, pretty good receiving core, and with Trevor Lawrence, taking that next step, I think that he'll further establish himself this year, and they'll take the South. So that leaves the AFC West, and no surprises. I am going to take the Chiefs. I think this will be not the Chiefs' best year based on the roster they've got, but they still do have Mahomes. I've got to believe that the Chris Jones situation will resolve itself at some point. I mean, he said that he will be back at least at week 8. I'm imagining they would want that to be a bit sooner than that.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce has avoided a major injury, so I'm sure that it won't be too long before we see him on the field. So Chiefs win the division. My wild cards, so the number 5 seed, will be the Bengals. I think it'll be that close with the Ravens and the Bengals where it could go to the final week.
Yeah.
My second wild card, taking the number 6 seed, I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to say Jets, Jets.
Oh, wow.
I think the talent level has won me over, even though there is a lot of question marks still on that offensive line. That offensive line doesn't just fix itself. You know, they haven't invested talent-wise there. Rodgers coming in doesn't necessarily say that he's going to, you know, maybe there'll be some nuances that he can give to them, but that's still a major problem for them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final wild card, this was very difficult because there's so many teams that are going to miss out this year. So many good teams that I think will have winning records. I think the Dolphins will have a winning record. I think the Chargers will have a winning record. But ultimately, I'm going to pick a team that I think is headed in the right direction, and I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to make the 7th seed. So that's where I am with the AFC, Rob. Over to you.
Like Steelers. Paul will be happy with that. Let's see.
I didn't pick my own team. Like, just that's how loaded the AFC is.
It is. Right. So yeah, going through my picks. Let's start off with AFC North. So the tricky one, basically echoing what you guys have said. Ravens, Bengals. It's almost a coin toss, but for me, there's a lot on this year for the Bengals. This probably is going to be the last time we see this team built up the way it is, based off of contracts that are going to have to be renewed or done at the end of this year. The wide receiving core, the trio is probably the best trio in the NFL. Joe Burrows. What do I need to say about Joe Burrows? He turns up in the big games. He's available more often than not, and well, just the body of work over the last few years. I'm not betting against Joe Burrows. I'm not putting Lamar ahead of Joe. So that is the main thing for me. Looking at his connection with Jamar Chase, since LSU at college, they are on the same wavelength, and I'm liking them to go a long way. So I'm putting them my AFC North winners. AFC South, again, I'm going with the Jags. I think the Colts will surprise a few people this year. I think they're going to be really hot and cold, a little bit like the Falcons have been over the last couple of years, where they're going to upset some teams, but I don't think overall for the year they're going to be great. But yeah, looking at Trevor Lawrence, looking at that defense, you're always going to back them. They're getting better and better over the last couple of years. I'm going with Trevor Lawrence again. You go with the quarterbacks. Good quarterbacks are rarely going to let you down, and that's always been something we've seen in the NFL. AFC West, I've gone with the Chiefs, but I don't think it's going to be easy. Now, I should have learned my lesson by now, but I haven't. And I do think the Chargers are going to have a good team, barring injury this year, and I think they're going to perform better than we expect. Now, the amount of bets that I've lost on the Chargers over the years and fantasy games that they hurt me on, you would have thought I'd have learnt my lesson by now, but I haven't. And I think they are going to run the Chiefs close, but I see the Chiefs as winning the West. Again, with Mahomes, he's been there, he's done it. AFC Championship last 5 years in a row, championship game last 5 years in a row, 2 Super Bowls. You can't bet against Mahomes. I am concerned with the Chiefs' wide receiving core. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Their defense concerns me as well, but I'm still going for them to win the West. And then lastly, the AFC East. Now, this one had me scratching my head for ages. And Jay came up with the thing that having the Jets to be a wildcard team. I have the Jets to win the division. Now, wow. I could have put Miami, the Bills, or the Jets to win this division, and I could have put a solid argument for every one of them teams whilst they're going to win the division. For me, one thing I love about NFL, so when the game you mentioned earlier, Jay, the 49ers Seattle game, what made that game so memorable? Defense. What's made some of the best teams we've watched over the years, the Baltimore Ravens teams, the Steelers teams, the Denver team, in Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl, all solid defenses. Now, the Jets defense is as good as it was last year. The rookies now have a year under their belt, and instead of having a quarterback who, let's be honest, couldn't cut it at the NFL level, they've got Aaron Rodgers. And this isn't the Aaron Rodgers of the last 2 years. I'm watching him in press conferences. He's smiling. He actually seems happy. He wants to be there. It's where at times he was looking for excuses before games had even started at Green Bay over the last sort of 12 months or so. So seeing him being somewhere where he seems more invested into the team, he's taken a pay cut. Again, these are all really good signs for me. And it does remind me a lot of that Broncos team that won the Super Bowl when Manning wasn't the Manning that we all remembered. Now, I think Rodgers will be better than that. But I think the defense is going to carry them, and teams are going to have to chase against them a lot more. How many times last year did the Jets stop teams 3 points or 3 and outs, whatever it may be, and then 3 plays on the offensive side and they're punting the ball, they get the ball back? The defense was gassed so many times last year, and I don't see that happening. Longer drives, points on the board. It's going to be a much more opportunistic defense from my side of things. So, sorry, that's a very long-winded answer to my AFC East, but I'm going with the Jets to win. Then wild cards. I'm going with Ravens as one of the wild card teams. I'm again, good schedule, good quarterback, and a great coach. You always know you're going to get a great coaching setup with the Ravens. What Harbaugh's done there has been incredible, and yeah, I'm backing them. Buffalo Bills, I'm putting as my second wild card team. Again, you've got Josh Allen. I think they're going to have a feel-good factor about them this year with DeMar Hamlin coming back, and they're a stacked team. They're a well-coached team. Whether they can do it in the biggest moments, time will tell this year. But I see them as a wildcard team. The last wildcard spot, I was torn. There were 3 teams I was really struggling between. I was torn between the Chargers, the Dolphins, and the Titans. Titans purely because of the schedule. And we all love a bit of D. Hopkins, right? Alongside Henry. But I just don't trust Tannehill. I don't trust him to do it when the pressure's on. Then I look at the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins, but Ramsey being out, the defense, will Tua stay healthy? All of these are questions that I'm like, right, they need the perfect season to get through to the playoffs. So I'm going with the Chargers to make the final wildcard spot. Looking at their roster, they've got one of the best balanced teams in the trenches. The offensive line, defensive line is strong. They got some of the best skill players in the league. Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Williams, great players. And not even to mention Derwin James, again, who's actually going to be healthy this year. So if they stay injury-free, that roster's stacked. And I think they could end up challenging the Chiefs. I'll actually go out and say, if Kelsey was injured for a lot longer, I would probably say the Chargers would finish ahead of the Chiefs. But as it looks, it's just a bruised bone. I don't foresee that happening. So that's my picks. Going on to the NFC predictions for the playoffs. If I go with the NFC East, I actually found this a little bit harder than I was expecting. But I've gone with the standard Eagles to win. But I do think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a force this year. That's not just from listening to Skip Bayless and Michael Irvin talking left, right, and centre. That defense is real. They've added Stephon Gilmore and Micah Parsons. You can't. He's just a freak of nature. But yeah, for the divisional winners, I've gone with the Eagles. They're stacked. They've got a lot more experience this year. And again, on the trenches, that's where it comes down to. they've got one of the best O-lines in the league, and they've got one of the best D-lines in the league. It's a good combination to have. So I'm going with them. NFC North. Yeah, this was a challenging one. I've gone with the Vikings. I don't know why I've gone with the Vikings. I do. I've got just through Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, that connection. It's hard to go against Justin Jefferson. He's just a freak of nature again, like Michael Parsons at Dallas Cowboys. But I think alongside of him, you've got Jordan Addison. Now, I think Jordan Addison's going to be a great wide receiver. He's going to hopefully free up some space for Jefferson and vice versa. So I think they're going to have, they're going to be similar to a Waddle and Hill partnership from last year at Miami. I have concerns with the D, but I think looking at the other teams, they, for me, are the favourites to come out of that division. Looking at the NFC South, I've gone with the Saints. Now, I think the Saints are going to have a good year this year. I think Olave, Michael Thomas, and Derek Carr with a point to prove. Once Alvin Kamara comes back, I remember watching Carr in the skills contest they had at the Pro Bowl, and he showed up all of the other quarterbacks there. He absolutely smashed them in the target practice. And that was at the time when the Raiders said they didn't want him, or obviously at that time he hadn't signed with the Saints. I think he's going to be on a mission next year. I'm not saying he's going to turn into Mahomes, but I think he's going to have a good year. And again, they've still got good pieces on defense, got a good O-line. They're going to be a hard team to beat, especially at home, as they always are. And then NFC West. This was a pretty easy one. Got to go with 49ers, especially with the news that we had last night, which I know Jay was very happy about. Bosa signing his new long-term contract is huge. Again, they lost some pieces on defense, but they were so stacked already, they could still lose pieces and have one of the best defenses in the league. I think Purdy got a year under his belt, showed us a lot last year. I really liked what he had to show. I think Ayuk's going to continue his progression at wide receiver, and Deebo Samuel is Deebo Samuel. Shanahan will find a way of giving him the ball in space, and then, yeah, RIP DBs, linebackers, you're not catching it. Simple as that. And yeah, coaching wise, gotta love what Shanahan's done. Can he get them there in the big games? Question marks, but will he get them to the big game? Yeah, I think he will. So that's my NFC pick. Jay, what about yourself?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So,
I just realised I didn't do wild
cards,
picks, did I?
Yeah.
I didn't do wild cards. So, wild card picks. NFC. I've gone with the Dallas Cowboys. I've already gone through the reasons. I was umming and ahhing between them and Eagles actually being divisional winners, but I'm sticking with them. They're going purely with Pollard now. Yeah, I think he's going to have a good year too. Next team, Detroit. Now, I like the Detroit Lions a lot this year, and this might give away a little bit for my predictions for the games later, but I think looking at their record, they're 8-10 in their last 10 games. How many of them meant something? Well, they're in a run for the playoffs. They almost made the playoffs last year. Just looking at their roster, I love the coach. I love the passion. At first, when he was there and they were losing week in, week out, I thought he looked clueless. Shows how much I know. He's done something. He's changed everything about the program over the last couple of years. Goff is a pocket passer. I think the O-line will give him time to pass. I love me some Amon-Ra St. Brown, bigging up USC, just like Jordan Addison as well. And I get Jamar Gibbs at running back. They're going to be a good team. And last but not least, gone with the Seattle Seahawks, team that have been there, done it, know how to get to the playoffs. Pete Carroll, done it time and time again. He gets the players up for these big games. Geno Smith, can he repeat what he did last year? Not many people thought he'd do that last year, but I think he will. When you've got Lockett, you've got DK Metcalf as your wide receiver, and they've got obviously their wide receiver from the draft this year. that could be an exciting offense to watch. How they go on defense could be a challenge, but they are playing the Cardinals twice and they are playing the Rams twice, which does help in that win-loss record. So yeah, that's my NFC picks. So over to you now, Joe.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, I'll start with the NFC North. It is up for grabs, I think. I think it is an open contest. You could probably make a case for all four of the teams in some ways.
Good.
But I've just got a feeling, I've got quite a special feeling about a certain quarterback in this division. And I'm going on a very, very small sample size. But I really, really have liked what I've seen from Jordan Love. So I'm actually going to take a risk here, and I'm going to take the Packers. I don't think the Vikings will fall off that much, so they will have to vastly improve on where they are. I think there's been a lot of dysfunction in Green Bay, and now, you know, it was the right time. Maybe it's been a long time coming for the Packers and Rodgers to separate. Certainly, I felt that Rodgers should have left a long time ago. Yeah. But now they've got a new start. And by everything that I've seen from Jordan Love, you know, at least in a very small sample size, I think he can make all the throws. I think the arm talent is better than most of these new quarterbacks that we're going to be seeing this year. So I'm going to have to hope that he proves me right. I am a bit concerned with the arrival of Brian Flores with the Vikings. Their defense couldn't be much worse last year, and they won 13 games, albeit a lot of them were one-score games.
Yeah.
So you can't live by that forever. Mm-hmm. But I do think, at least to some degree, Brian Flores will be able to improve that defense. So it is a risky pick. I probably should be taking the Vikings, but I'm just going to go with my gut here and say the Packers. Yeah. Okay, as we move on to the NFC East, I think you covered it perfectly, Rob. You've got four good teams, really, but the two teams that stand out to me are the Eagles and the Cowboys. Both of those defenses are absolutely loaded, and these two games should be very, very good. It was a difficult decision, but I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles. I think the Cowboys will push them. This is probably the best Cowboys team I've seen in a long time.
Great.
And, you know, given the hype that the Cowboys always get, I think it is warranted this year. You look at every level of that defense, you know, Micah Parsons, how special of a defensive player he is. He might be, you know, edging towards being the best defensive player in this league. Yeah. Obviously, you know, reinforcing the secondary with Stephon Gilmore, who's an experienced head. You've got your kind of live by the sword, die by the sword with Trayvon Diggs on one side, but you've got someone that's very experienced, very savvy on the other side. So you've kind of got the best of both worlds there. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Eagles because I think, you know, draft wise they nailed it. Yep. They lost Javon Hargrave. They reloaded, you know, in all of the right positions. Mm-hmm. And offensively, great offensive line. You know that run game is probably going to be number one in the league. Yep. And they've still got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. You know, they've got a heap load of weapons. So Eagles win the NFC East. Yep. NFC South. This was interesting, but one team has caught my interest very much, and I'm going to go with the Falcons this year.
Wow.
I think with all of the weapons that they've got, Bijan Robinson, we've still got to see the best of Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Mm-hmm. Cordarrelle Patterson, they've listed on their depth chart as the Joker. I mean, he will be everything and anything that they want him to be on offense. So, and I think one big point that really stuck out to me was watching the Falcons play the 49ers last year and how that offensive line absolutely manhandled the 49ers. And we're talking about the 49ers D-line here. They did not get a sniff on Mariota. And I think that paired with Bijan Robinson, and Cordarrelle Patterson, with all of those potential targets, they've got the potential here. Now, I know there's a lot of question marks about the quarterback, and that is the one sort of question mark on the offense. But if he can just be good enough, just get the ball into the hands of those weapons, they'll do the rest. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Falcons. And then lastly, NFC West. Of course, I'm going to have my biases. I do believe that the Seahawks' threat this year will be real. They will definitely be better than they were even last year. I think what we saw last year is that they had a explosive offense, but defensively there was a lot of problems there. Yeah. And sort of bringing back Bobby Wagner, making some of the moves they've made for their front seven, it kind of screams to me, we're here to stop the 49ers run game. And I think that they will improve this year. But ultimately, I'm going to have to pick the 49ers to retain. Something that they have not done in a very long time is retain the NFC West. But I look at the team and I say, this is the best team we've had in a very long time. Deebo Samuel is on a mission because he feels that he had a bad season last year. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking all I saw from him was 40-yard touchdowns. So I'm really interested to see what Deebo does this year. But you look at that, we've got Deebo, we've got Brandon Ayuk, an absolute route technician. Kittle, he makes everything better. Your run game and your pass game. McCaffrey, this is really his, he's had his first full off season with the team. I mean, he fit like a glove into this offense. But now you've given him the whole off season to sort of learn the nuances of this Shanahan system. I could see McCaffrey having a big year. And of course, we don't need to go into the defense too much. We know that they are, an elite unit. Do I think they'll be number one this year? I don't, but I think they'll be top 5. We still have Nick Bosa. We've added Javon Hargrave. Eric Armstead will do a job alongside those two. We've got the X factor in Drake Jackson from USC. So we'll see what he brings in year 2. And then you've got Fred Warner. I mean, he's the general. He's in my eyes, he is the best linebacker in the NFL. We have a question mark in the secondary, but I think for the most part, that front seven will be able to mask those issues. So 49ers win the NFC West.
Okay.
Now, if we move on to wildcards, my number 5 seed will be the Cowboys. I think we've covered them enough to say they're going to be a very good team, and I feel they'll just fall short of the Eagles, but that will propel them to the number 5 seed. The number 6 seed, I've got the Seattle Seahawks. I think that they will improve to a point where, playoffs will not be under threat for them. I think they will comfortably make the playoffs. And then my number 7 seed will be the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're still going to be a very good team. They have their issues. They ride their luck at times, but I think that they're, as Rob has pointed out, you got Justin Jefferson now with Addison. Pick your poison. How are you going to defend that? And as I said before, Brian Flores, I think that is a massive add for them. With a under-talented D, I think that he will improve them and they will make the playoffs again. So over to you, Paul.
So the NFC for me, I look at there's 2 tiers. There's the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, and there's everyone else.
Good shout.
And all I needed to decide in the NFC was in what order do those 3 finish. And I tried my best to come up with some arguments for the other teams, but I just couldn't. The Eagles last year had literally everything fall in their favor. They had the easiest schedule in the NFL. They had very, very few injuries, which we know that it just doesn't happen. I think the thing is something stupid like 15% of teams have less than 6 season-ending injuries or something like that, and the Eagles had 2 season-ending injuries. Basically, they just got away with it throughout the whole season for the Eagles. There's a couple of things that have happened to them as well. They've lost Shane Steichen over to the Colts. But the Eagles kind of continue to go, and like my Steelers, they'll promote someone from within who knows what he's doing. He's being coached up through the ranks. But the Eagles have this coaching issue, the hardest schedule in the NFL. Fletcher Cox is a year older. Jason Kelsey's a year older. Brandon Graham's a year older. But the Eagles are still going to win the NFC East. So
the suspense.
What's not going to happen though is they're not going to be the number 1 seeds. They're going to win the NFC East, and that's purely because the Cowboys quarterback is Dak Prescott. For me, the Cowboys are, for me, a better team personnel-wise, bar the quarterback, than the Eagles. But I just can't trust Prescott. Jalen Hurts is in the perfect system to succeed. That running game is a real problem to defend, as we saw last year. Like, Miles Sanders turned into a superstar. Miles Sanders, who's now getting paid with the Panthers, and the Panthers will find out that Miles Sanders is just a standard running back, but he was in the Eagles scheme. So I have the Niners winning the NFC West and taking the number 1 seed. Eagles number 2 seed. Like I said, the Cowboys are the 3rd best team in the NFC, but because of the division system, they're going to be the 5 seed. Like Jay, I think the Falcons are going to win the NFC South purely because they are going to be a huge problem to play against. That running game is a huge problem to defend. They've got Bijan Robinson, who they're going to line up at running back. They're going to line up at receiver. He's a ridiculous receiver back. They've got Algier, who was a 1,000-yard rusher last year, coming off the bench to spot Bijan. So Bijan could have a rest with Algier, vice versa. So they're just going to run at you off 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, and then they're going to make it so simple for that quarterback, Ridder. Ridder's just going to think of the play actions that he's going to get off that running game. With Drake London and Pitts running wide open because the other D is terrified of that running game. So, yeah, I have the Falcons winning the South. Not tearaway at all. They're a 9-8 team, but they'll win the South. And I also have the Packers winning NFC North.
Okay.
Now, I don't like the D. I really do not like their D. And I think they cannot stop the run. And their D coordinator is terrible. However, Jordan Love has got the best possible situation of any young starting quarterback. He's been sat there for a long time learning. He's grown up with, last year, he grew up with the Packers' young receivers. They know, and if you hear what's coming out of Green Bay, they love him. They love him. They're talking him up. You hear Jair Alexander talking up their quarterback. They love the guy. It's not a great division, so it's not going to take a lot of winning. I have the Packers winning that division at 9-8. Like, I just think they're going to win a lot of games at home. Jordan Love's not going to have to throw for 350 yards. And don't forget that Rodgers didn't have a great year last year. So if Love plays similar level to Rodgers last year, which is very, very possible, then the Packers can, and I think will, win that division. Don't buy the Lions whatsoever. So, yeah. I need to see it before I believe it. Wildcards, Cowboys, like I said, Seahawks are winning team, but their first round playoff fodder. They'll get beat first round of playoffs, but they'll make it. They're the 6th seed, and the Vikings are the 7th seed. Vikings. I mean, I wanted to come here with, like, you know, a Rams are going to make it or Giants are going to make it, but the Vikings, just personnel wise, the argument about the D is valid. The D was shocking last year, so if the D is even a tiny bit improved, then they'll make the playoffs just based off that. They were in 13 one-score games last year. They're not going to lose 13 of them. If they lose 5 of them, they're still going to make the playoffs. They were a 13-win team last year. So, yeah, the Vikings make the playoffs. But like I said, the NFC for me, you have your tier, you have your Niners, your Eagles, your Cowboys, and you have everyone else. So, that's me.
I think that's fair.
Lovely. So that's the playoff, the AFC, the NFC playoff team selected. Now for the big game. 207 days ago, I remember watching this game. What's the next one going to be? So should we start off with you, Paul? What is your prediction for this year's Super Bowl matchup, winner, and MVP?
I think the Super Bowl this year is the Bengals against the 49ers. The Bengals win. Burrow's the MVP. Short and sweet.
Love it. Love it. Jay, what about yourself?
Okay, I'm going to need just a little bit longer than Paul to explain my pick, but you know, I mean, I think we all do. We love Mahomes, but I think this is the year that the Chiefs do not make the AFC Championship. They posted 5 in a row, and I say that this year is the year they don't even make it.
Wow.
I've got the number 1 seed Ravens hosting the Bengals.
Wow.
And I've got Joe Burrow and the Bengals going in there after they've eliminated Mahomes and the Chiefs. And they're going to do the exact same thing at M&T Stadium to Lamar and the Ravens. They are my AFC pick. My NFC pick for the whole summer was the Eagles. But I had to look at history. And history has shown since 1994, bear in mind, that's, you know, where are we looking at? 20 years? 30 years?
28 years, yeah. 28, 29 years.
The Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. So that meant that they got to 3 in a row after a loss. Mm. Since then, only one team has lost the Super Bowl and made it back to the Super Bowl the next year. So as much as I believe the Eagles are the number 1 team in the NFC, I'm going to ride with history and say they will not make it back this year. And so It's a choice. Am I really going to pick the Cowboys with Dak Prescott and the question marks that he has? It's a great roster. I'm going to take the 49ers to make the Super Bowl. And it's hard for me to say that being a 49ers fan, but that's what in my heart of hearts I believe, based on the fact that history says the Eagles will probably not make it back.
Sure.
So then we come to the game itself. This has been a Super Bowl twice before. And I'm going to ride with the result being the same in those 2 Super Bowls. And I'm going to say that this is finally the year that Shanahan gets his first ring. And I'm going to say the 49ers take the Bengals in a very, very close game. And I think that Brock will get MVP if that happens.
Okay. Wow. Now, I love that pick. Going on my side of things, similar to you in a way, I'm going with, from the AFC, championship game is going to be Chiefs Bengals. And before they played each other in the playoffs last year, I almost felt like the Bengals had the Chiefs number a little bit. They knew how to beat them, and it was getting in the Chiefs' head a little bit. I think this year they will do it. I think they've got a point to prove. As I mentioned earlier, they know this is the last year that this team is going to be constructed the way it is. It's going to be the best chance a lot of these players have to win a Super Bowl. I love Orlando Brown coming in at left tackle to protect Burrow's blind side. And again, looking at the Chiefs, their O-line was incredible last year. Absolutely incredible. You look at where their O-line individually ranked, they're pretty much all in the top 10 for pass rush blocks. Now, they've lost two big guys. They've lost Wiley and Orlando Brown. They've still got three very good O-linemen in, but I think that will be enough to make a difference. With Kelsey being a year older, he's no spring chicken anymore. He's 33, can't go on forever. If he doesn't do it, do I trust Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Marcus Valdes-Scantling? No, I don't trust either of them. So I'm going with the Bengals, with Chase, with Burrows, T. Higgins, Mixon. What's there not to like about them? So that's my AFC team. Going on the NFC, I am going to say history is going to be changed. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I do agree with what you've said, though. You look at the Chiefs over the last, 4 years. The 1 year they didn't make it is the year they lost to the Bucks. Make it back, to the Super Bowl. So that was a concern of mine, but I look at the 49ers. Shanahan concerns me in the big game. Just from the body of work I've seen at that big game moment. And Brock Purdy, I like what I've seen, but have I seen enough yet to say that he's going to get them to a Super Bowl? I still want to see a bit more before I predict that. I think the Eagles team is probably one of the best teams in terms of personnel to repeat in terms of getting back to the Super Bowl. Quite often the teams will lose a few of their star players the following year. The ones they've lost, they've replaced, and they were so stacked already. Obviously, Father Time is catching up, as Paul mentioned earlier, with a few of their players, but they haven't shown any signs to question that at the moment. So I'm going with Bengals versus the Eagles, and I'm going with the Bengals to win. I think in the big game, just like he did with LSU, just like he's done in pretty much every big game, Burrows has turned up and he's going to be the MVP. So that's my Super Bowl pick and MVP pick. Okay, so now let's go for some picks. We're going to be going with regular season awards: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player, and Coach of the Year. So, Paul, do you want to start us off? Your picks.
Okay, the regular season MVP is going to be Lamar Jackson. The Offensive Player of the Year, Jamar Chase. Defensive Player of the Year, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I like that.
The Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Anthony Richardson with the Colts. He's going to have every possible chance to be the Rookie of the Year, and he's a quarterback, so he's got the best possible chance. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson with the Texans. They're going to be playing defense a lot this year. Comeback Player of the Year is by default, and he should win, Damar Hamlin.
Yep.
And Coach of the Year is not much of a surprise, but NFC South winning Atlanta Falcons coach Arthur Smith.
Okay, perfect. Jay, you're up.
okay. This is very interesting, Paul. My regular season MVP is also Lamar Jackson. My Offensive Player of the Year this year is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Defensive Player of the Year is going to be Micah Parsons. Look forward to that contract discussion afterwards, Cowboys. Yeah. Rookie of the Year, Bijan Robinson. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jalen Carter. Comeback Player of the Year, Damar Hamlin. And Coach of the Year, again, also Arthur Smith.
Okay. Were you two doing your lists earlier together? You've got the same MVP. You've got what, the Vikings? You've got the Green Bay Packers. Like, getting teams.
Yeah.
We've got the NFC like locked up.
Right. So my regular season MVP, bit of a shocker here, Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to real back time. I'm going for that as my MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going with Justin Jefferson. Defensive Player of the Year, Micah Parsons. Rookie of the Year, Bijan Robinson. Defensive Rookie, Will Anderson. Jalen Carter was so close, but I'm going with Will Anderson. Comeback Player of the Year, Damar Hamlin. Coach of the Year, Robert Saleh.
Oh, wow.
Alongside Aaron Rodgers as the MVP to get them to the AFC East title.
Let's go, hype man.
Yeah, it's all done. Right, so one more selection from each before we get on to tonight's game. Bold prediction for the year. Paul, I love your prediction. So tell everyone what your bold prediction is for this upcoming NFL season.
See, I don't know how bold it is. You're very generous, very kind in saying it's a bold prediction, but
okay.
I'm looking at what's happening in New York with who Rodgers has recruited. I'm looking at the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be a mess. Rodgers has restructured his contract to free up space to try and win the Super Bowl with this roster. Davante Adams is going to be traded to the New York Jets by the trade deadline. My bold prediction is that Davante Adams will be a Jet.
That does
this year.
That does categorize a bold prediction. I can assure you that.
Yeah. They're gonna have to come up with something interesting trade wise. So yeah. I'm gonna look out for that one.
Good luck justifying that to Raider Nation. But, yeah. On to you, Jay.
Okay, I don't know how much of a bold prediction this is. I think, Rob, you might think it is, but I'm just gonna say it as it is. At the end of this season, we will view Zay Flowers as the number one wide receiver from this draft class.
That's bold for me because we all know that I've got a personal favourite in this draft class. Can he? Hell yeah, he can. If he does, then yeah, I won't be too happy, but I like it. Jordan Addison all the way for me, though. But anyway, my bold prediction for the year gave it away a little bit. It's the same as my MVP. I'm Aaron Rodgers as the MVP. He's not going to put up 5,000, 6,000 odd yards like he did in his pomp, but he's going to get wins. He's going to get the team, in my opinion, the number one seed in the AFC East. That should be enough, in my opinion, to get him the MVP. He's going to have not many turnovers. Again, the numbers are going to look good. They're not going to blow you away in terms of the amount of yards, but touchdown to interception ratio is going to be good, as it always is with Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, that's going to be my bold prediction, if that classes as bold. But so yeah, that's pretty much our picks for this upcoming season. So come Christmas, January time next year, we'll be able to see look back on these and see how amazingly knowledgeable we are, or how clueless we all are. And yeah, look forward to seeing some interesting selections there. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I just can't wait for tonight. I'm literally buzzing. I just can't even stay still at the moment thinking about it. But anyway, let's get on to tonight's game. We've got the Lions at the Chiefs. So now let's have a bit of to and fro in what we think is going to happen tonight, what we think is going to be major factors. Obviously, we found out that Kelsey isn't probably going to be out for a long time. Bruised bone is what I've heard. A bit of inflammation there. Would you risk him? Either of you?
No.
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 No,
I wouldn't risk
absolutely
it.
not in week one. No,
I agree.
they can take care of business.
Yeah. See, if he doesn't play, I'm going with the Lions to win tonight. If he doesn't,
Okay.
if he doesn't play, giving you a few of my reasons why earlier, but you're looking at the secondary of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be going well over 100 yards receiving tonight. I think he's going to have a good game. They don't have Frank Clark. They don't have Chris Jones. They might not have Travis Kelce. They're not free, mediocre journeymen that they have to replace. They've then lost Wiley, who was, I think, top 3 offensive tackles in the NFL last year in terms of the pass rush blocking. They've lost Orlando Brown, his left tackle. Now, admittedly, I don't think the Lions...
Juju.
They've lost Juju. Sorry, yeah, they've lost Juju. And I've highlighted something. I'm glad I highlighted it here because I forgot about it. But remember when Tampa Bay, I don't think it's got to this level, when Tampa Bay played Kansas in the Super Bowl. How bad did that team look, even though they were a lot better than what they are now in terms of the personnel to what they will have tonight? Because the O-line wasn't as good. Now, it's not going to be that bad, the O-line, I get that. But you got to protect Mahomes. Last year, he was wrapped in cotton wool with that O-line. I don't see it happening this year. For that reason, that's one of the reasons I haven't put them to get to the AFC Championship game. That's one of the reasons, along with Kelce being out. If that's the case, I don't see them winning tonight. They've got Mahomes. They're going to put points up. But will they put enough? They could.
Do we believe in the Lions defense that much though, Rob? That's the question. Because in that Super Bowl, that was a hellacious pass rush.
Yeah, and that's what I said.
They lost both tackles.
Yeah, they're not the Tampa Bay defense. There's no doubt about that. But if you're going to be playing Kansas City, this is the best time to be playing them at Arrowhead. It's going to be nice and warm. I think the temperature's about 26 degrees at game time. That's warm at Kansas City. Think what it's like in December. Not very windy.
Which is important for golf.
It's important, and for both really. It's a big. Not that Mahomes needs it; he would be fine, irrelevant. But for Goff, he's got the perfect conditions, and I think it's going to be a big scoring game. I'm not saying it's going to be a wipeout on Lions by any shout, but I think it'll be a last-second field goal, something along them lines. That does it for the Lions. But yeah. Who knows? That's how I'm viewing it. I got some stats here when you look at their pass rush. So they brought in Smith, Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor. Smith's pass rush win ratio last year was 78.3%. Taylor's was 88.8%. Now, you look at Wiley. Wiley was 93%. And Orlando Brown was 90%. So that's a big difference there. So, like I said, for that reason, I don't think their defense is elite, but I think it would be good enough to get to him. I don't trust Taylor. I don't trust Smith. But who knows? I might be proven wrong. Wiley's the one that I think they're going to struggle to replace. What are your thoughts, Paul?
See, I'm gonna go against you based on what you said about Detroit's D. Detroit want to play aggressively. They want to play man to man. They want to cover up the wide receivers at the line of scrimmage, man to man, and they want to rush the quarterback. The problem that Detroit have is that they just don't have the horses to run that scheme. They just don't. Detroit had a wonderful opportunity in this year's draft. They had 2 picks in the first round. And what did they do? They went and selected a running back and a middle linebacker instead of a pass rusher and a wide receiver. What are the weaknesses of this Lions team? Wide receiver and pass rush. They've got Hutchinson.
Yeah.
That's all they got.
Yeah,
that's all
true.
they've got.
That's true.
And
Agreed.
the Chiefs O-line is good enough to handle the Lions. Now, the other side of the ball, the Chiefs D has, while you're right, they don't have Chris Jones. That is a big problem. But they do have the scheme that's going to cause the Lions problems, because one of the Lions' other big weaknesses is their O-line.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Chiefs D coordinator is going to scheme up problems for Goff. And what does Goff not deal with is pressure, because he can't move. He can't move out of the pocket. He just can't move. The bet I have for this game, Isaiah Pacheco, scrimmage yards over 65.5. That should be 85.5.
That is low.
Scrimmage yards.
That is low.
That is
The Lions. Do you remember last year the Lions going to Carolina? The Panthers ran for about 300 odd yards. The Panthers.
Yeah.
Dante Foreman ran for like nearly 200 yards himself against this Lions team. I think the Lions are just overhyped, and prime time. The lights, the stage is set.
You could be right. You could be right. Again, I thought exactly what you're thinking for the last 10 games. And eventually I was like, right, I've got to stop believing this now, because they're doing it over and over again. They've done, like I said, they 8 wins out of their last 10 games.
Yeah,
they're not going to be an elite team.
Goff needs the situation to be.
He does. I agree with that. I think with Clark, with Jones not being there, yeah, they'll have a scheme. I think he will be given enough time to find his wide receivers, tight ends, whoever it may be, running back out of the pocket. But it's going to be a good game to watch. I think.
I think it'll be high scoring. I do think it'll be high scoring.
And the over, what is it, 52.5?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the over, I like that. I do like that.
And
both things.
It'd be interesting to see. Let's have a look at how the Lions use that running back that they, invested. They spent a lot of draft capital on running back Jahmyr Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the word is in training camp that he's been lining up at receiver, slot receiver, out wide, like as a boundary receiver, and out of the backfield. They're going to get their usage out of this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what he can do.
Yeah,
I just want to jump on one of Paul's points about the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo. He does like to blitz, but another thing that he does love to do is create confusion. And that's where Goff could really come unstuck here, because he will give you looks where everyone's at the line of scrimmage. And the moment that ball snapped, people drop back, people blitz. Like he gives you a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And he masks a lot of problems that the Chiefs have talent-wise on D. So, I definitely feel like Goff has got an interception in him tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And I think on the other side, this might be just a game too big for the Lions. And I'm gonna say I feel like the Chiefs will win it, but I think that there'll be a bit of garbage time scoring from the Lions to make it look very close.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like what you're saying, Rob. There is definitely, if the Lions get off to a good start in this game,
get the belief,
and they get up, I think the Chiefs will have trouble stopping this run game.
Oh,
because even with Chris Jones,
they weren't great at stopping the run.
The Chiefs' defense really was quite mediocre.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that Spagnuolo could scheme them into clutch moments, if you like, in big games.
Mm.
I think that if the Lions were to get up early and they were to establish this run game, I think the Chiefs could be in trouble because they will play move the chains.
Yeah.
And move the chains means Mahomes is on the sideline.
Exactly.
And that's what I think they will try and do.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I mean, the Chiefs defense, I don't think that they are we're going to give up the chains type of defense. Eventually, they will just break, and you'll have a big run, and Mahomes will be back on the field.
Yeah,
I don't see it being Ben. I don't think they're good enough to be Ben, don't break. I think they'll just break eventually.
They will.
So
that's the way I see. But let me just remind you, I'm only saying the Lions win if Kelsey doesn't play. Kelsey,
it's a big deal.
My pick is.
It is a big deal.
He's his third down man. I saw a stat. I can't remember it now, but it was something along the lines of 270 third down plays Mahomes has had. 220 of them, Kelsey has been on the field. That was a game, though. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to find it for next time when we talk. But it was just, he's always had Kelsey there since he's been in the league. He's always been there for the big games, for the big third downs. That's not someone you replace. Not with Moore, Tony, and the other guys at wide receiver. But it'll be a good game, that's for sure. Doesn't matter who plays. It's the first game in 207 days. I'm going to enjoy it anyway. But yeah.
Oh, baby.
So you guys pretty much you both are going for the Chiefs for tonight. Is that irrelevant of whether Kelsey plays or not? Or
I'm going to roll with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, I'll just quickly summarize. So the Chiefs will win. Mahomes will go, whatever you get on Mahomes' passing yards, he'll go over that against this Lions D. And Pacheco is over on scrimmage yards. I think that the Lions are overmatched.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
So now for the big game, the 49ers are playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'll give a few of my thoughts, but I want to hand it over to the 49ers fan Jay and the Steelers fan Paul to get this one going. Like, what are your views for this game? What a game to start off week one. So yeah, I guess Paul, do you want to start off?
Sure. This is, I mean, in one way, I couldn't wish for a better home opener. Like, what a test against this team, especially this team, come against our second-year quarterback and our apparently reformed O-line. So what a test to start with. Jeez. However, the Steelers have quietly had a pretty good offseason.
They have.
With a few key additions. The O-line, like I said, is improved. They do have one problem, though, the Steelers, and that is the offensive coordinator. He is still employed. God knows how he is still employed. But this guy, hopefully Pickett, can change the plays at the line.
Win despite
if he can't change the plays at the line, he is trying to play quarterback with one hand tied behind his back. Mm-hmm. And against the 49ers with a newly re-signed Nick Bosa, that is a problem. It's a significant problem.
Has anyone, either of you heard, is Bosa going to play? Is he likely to play?
Bosa is going to play, and Bosa's going to play, and Shanahan is not going to restrict his snaps.
Cool. So go on, Paul.
And we've got a new rookie left tackle, and Bosa's ambidextrous, so we'll rush from either side. So good luck, Steelers O-line.
Yeah.
No, the game. Like, I mean, I want to go with the Steelers, but just realistically, thinking with my head, this is going to be a defensive struggle where, like, there's two key matchups in this game for me. It's the Steelers pass rush against the Niners O-line, the Niners O-line has problems, and the Steelers pass rush is the best part of our team. So that we need to cause Brock problems. And the Niners play calling against the Steelers defensive scheme. So how are you going to scheme up your runs against our defense? Like we want to blitz, and we want to play man-to-man coverage. But if you can run on us, like the Steelers get gashed in the run game quite often. And that's where I think the Niners win this game.
That's going to be a big concern with Shanahan's offense.
Yeah, I've got a very low scoring game. I've got it like 18-15 Niners.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Right.
I think you made a lot of good points, Paul. And I do think the key matchup is going to be, can the Steelers stop this Shanahan run game? But I definitely have a lot of questions. You know, Nick Bosa hasn't had an off season, basically. He's been working out by himself. That in itself is a risk to then play a full game in 4 days' time. We also have Brock's injury. You know, by all accounts, in the short series that he's had in the preseason, he looks good. Like, he looks healthy. But we got to see how this elbow, you know, can manage a full game now. And if this was week 10, if this was week 16, I would have honestly no hesitation, and I would tell you the 49ers will win this game. But it's week 1. And the only thing I'm grateful for is that we are not overwhelming favourites. We are just a 3-point favourite, which on the road in itself does say, you know, we are strong favourites, at least in Vegas's eyes. But let's take a little trip down memory lane with favourites. Let's go back 2 years ago. The Steelers were going into the Bills and no one gave them a shot. And who won that game? The Steelers. The Steelers then went into the Bengals' house in week 1 last year and no one gave them a shot. And who won that game? The Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to make this very, very simple. The Steelers start seasons very strong. The Niners start seasons very slow. So I'm going to pick the quote-unquote upset this week, and I'm going to say that the Steelers win a very close, low-scoring game. The Niners start slow, but they finish very strong.
With a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, I think this game, like as a Steelers fan and like yourself as a Niners fan, I'm fascinated to watch this game because I want to see our O-line against your D-line, and you want to see your O-line against our D-line. That's how our season's going to be set up. If our O-line can protect against your pass rush and vice versa, we're going to have a very nice.
We're golden.
We're good.
That's going to be a game that has to be on for every play. That's like, might have red zone on, but you've got to have that game on next to red zone. You can't. Every
bet your life.
game is going to tell you a lot about both teams the season ahead in terms of where they are. The matchups are going to be great. Yeah, it's so hard to bet against Tomlin. He's one of the best coaches in NFL history, not just in the NFL right now, in history. Like, his record is insane. And his teams are always ready. Always ready. As you touched upon, Jay, week 1, the last, 2 years, they've upset teams. Last year, they had so much disrespect throughout the whole year. And they kept on they piled up a fair few wins that I didn't see happening, to be honest with you, with the roster. I really struggled with my pick, but I'm going with the 49ers. I think the buzz in the dressing room, both are coming back. I get that he's not been with the team for a while. He's a power. Him and his brother, they're very shrewd businessmen. They know how to maximize their money, but they don't. They give you everything. They don't take their position for granted. They will be in shape. I have no doubt that he's kept in great shape all summer. I think he will be able to come in and play the whole game. I don't think there's going to be any restrictions, and he's just going to cause havoc. I do think your wide receiver quarterback combo this year is gonna be good. I actually thought the quarterback was going to be shocking. I really didn't like him the first few games last year when I saw him. Off season, end of last year, and the regular season, I saw something there that I didn't think I would see. So it'd be interesting to see how he does. But man, first game against that D, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes week one, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm going with the 49ers.
It's funny how the Lions finished so strong and they got all the hype, but the Steelers finished in exactly the same way. And, you know, I think a lot of that was the fact that Pickett became the starter and TJ Watt returned. And, you know, you look at TJ Watt's record or the Steelers' record when TJ Watt plays, when he doesn't, it's night and day. So I think Paul, it suits you and the Steelers to go under the radar and let the Lions have all the limelight as the team coming up.
To the Lions, I say, good luck to them. Like, they've done very little in their history to deserve it, and good luck to them. We are in a loaded division.
Yeah,
the Ravens and the Bengals, and even the Browns. We don't even know who
Browns aren't going to be an easy team. Yeah, it's your division is probably behind the AFC East is probably the second hardest division in the league, just off the top of my head. But yeah,
talent is off the charts. Talent is off the charts, and the X factor in your division is Deshaun Watson.
Can you believe we spoke about 49ers and Pittsburgh, and it was only right at the end that we actually brought up TJ Watt? Like, and it's not because I underrate him. Like, I just take him for granted. Like, I remember watching
how great he is. Yeah,
you watched JJ all them years and thought, if he could be half as good as JJ, he's going to be really impressive. Like, he's even better. He's much better than that. He is getting to that level of being as good as JJ. Maybe already there, depending on who you ask. I don't think he's there yet, personally, but I don't think he's
not quite prime JJ Watt.
Nah.
I mean, prime JJ Watt. Whew.
He's not far.
That's historic.
So we have
this does everything.
Matchup, the Steelers-Niners matchup. We have the two previous defensive players of the year on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Good luck.
This will be a war. This will be a war.
It's going to be proper football. Like, I love defense. You know, that's what I love watching. The 49ers Seahawks games of the past, the Ravens Steelers games of the past, when they're AFC championships, NFC championships. Like, that is it. Blood and guts, everything left on the field. I love watching the Rams Chiefs when it was, what was it? I can't remember now, like 58-61 or whatever, a few years back. Like, that was awesome, but good.
Nothing beats a 9-6.
Yeah. Oh man, it is. But the college game. But let's get on to the next game. Miami at the Chargers will be the final game to talk about this week. Now, I don't know about you two, but I went back and forth on making my pick for this game. Probably about 4 or 5 times. I just literally couldn't make my mind up. I look at Miami. In my opinion, they've got. I mentioned earlier the Bengals have the best trio wide receivers in the league. And for me, I think Miami has the best duo in the league. You give me Waddle and Hill, I'll take them over any other duo in the league.
The only question mark, and it is a question mark, is whether I'd take Chase and Higgins.
That is the
it's
only
pick your
one.
poison.
Yeah, that is
Pick
the
your poison.
only
You go
one.
for speed.
Yeah.
You got speed, or you got top and tail. You know,
Yeah.
you got your big man.
That's
and
true.
you're in Chase. You've got someone that can do it all.
Yeah, no, it's a close one. I just like, they're both speedsters. They both got great hands. They're both great at route running. Like, it's a dream, and I think they make Tua look better than what he actually is.
I agree with that.
I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but I think he will be the reason why they don't go as far as potentially they could. Not just him. He's bulked up this year by the looks of it. He looks a lot bigger. But unfortunately, when you hit your head, it doesn't matter how big you are. And the history has shown he's going to get hit. Will he be available? Best ability, availability, right? And I don't see him being there. So yeah, like, don't know what you guys think of it. I think Ramsey being out up against, what was it? Eckler, Allen, Williams, Herbert. That's going to be hard for Eli Apple, who's on his 15 since going number 10 overall. Is he going to be able to deal with them, or whoever he's on? I don't think he will. Xavier Howard, I think, will hold his end, but I don't think Apple will.
So you're picking the Chargers?
I am just picking the Chargers. I've highlighted here, I mentioned this earlier, I'll believe it when I see it. And I haven't seen it yet with the Chargers, but I was looking at their depth chart today. I was looking at both sides of the ball. They're really stacked, you know. Like, you could put them on par with an Eagles team in terms of the person.
Every year,
I know. Every year. Herbert, will he make that next step? I think it's time for him to do it. Like, he has to be the Joe Burrow. Just take the team by the scruff of the neck. I'm taking you there. I have question marks whether he can do that, but this is the time now.
Talent-wise, it's about as special as you can get. But we need to see that alpha in him, that leader in him, because when the going gets tough, I think right now it's a quiet voice on the sideline.
Yep. And
there's no doubting the talent.
Yeah, he's not talent-wise, he's got it, but he hasn't shown that killer instinct that the best quarterbacks have. Haven't really seen the leadership. I haven't, like I mentioned, just getting the team by the scruff of the neck, like making them believe that he's going to get them there. If you don't get them there, okay, but you got to make them believe it at least, you know. Like, at least that might get them that extra yard of space because they've got that belief you're going to get there, and it makes your life easier. So yeah, I have question marks that. God, I don't know what you think, Paul, about the matchup. I know you looked at the schemes and things of both of them teams. What are your views on it? What do you think is going to be the deciding factor in this game?
I picked the game before then learning that we were going to talk about the game. So I picked the game, and I'll come right out and say I picked the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And then, so to talk about the game and to justify how I came to the Dolphins, this time last year, don't forget, the Dolphins, do you remember how the Dolphins started last season? They were absolute, they flew out the gates.
Yeah.
Remember, they beat the Bills.
Beat the Bills, didn't they? And no one gave them a chance against the Bills. Yeah.
A big comeback at the Ravens when they were down, 24 or something like that?
Yeah.
They were down big and they came back.
Tua went out, right? And that's when it all started. That's when it all started to go downhill, wasn't it? When he had his first concussion.
On that Thursday night game. Yeah.
Yeah, and they very nearly went into Buffalo in the playoffs and beat the Bills with Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson. But this matchup for me came down to the Chargers can't stop the run, and the Dolphins want to run the ball. And the Dolphins will run the ball with Mike McDaniels and the Shanahan scheme, which is everywhere all over the league. He's got the ex-Niner running backs in Mostert, who's healthy in week 1, amazingly. And is it Wilson, Steph? Yeah,
Jeff Wilson Jr.
Yeah. So they're going to run the ball against the Chargers, and they're going to dare the Chargers to stop the run, and the Chargers can't stop the run, and that's been their problem for the last couple of years. And then they're going to have the play action off the back of that, to Hill and to Waddle running wild over the middle. I just think Miami just match up very well against the Chargers. Tua's healthy, and the Chargers, I just don't trust them. And they don't have a home field. Miami's going to have a ton of fans there in that stadium. It's going to be like a home game. I just think schematically wise, they match up well with the Chargers. They're going to run. Chargers can't stop the run. End of for me. Dolphins win on the road.
I'm looking at my sheet of paper. I've literally scribbled out who I think is going to win this game 3 times.
It's going to be a great game then.
It's and yeah, I've highlighted. I don't get this. I've highlighted, like I said earlier, believe it when I see it. But I've still picked the Chargers. So yeah, I'm putting my head out on a limb there.
But, you never learn.
I never learn. I know. Yeah, that's my betting gambling balance will tell you that as well. But yeah, Jay, you were going to say something.
I'll keep it short on this one. I'm going to give you an X factor player in this game that I think could make a big impact. And it's the new free agent signing by the Chargers at middle linebacker, Eric Kendricks. I don't know why the Vikings tossed him to the side. When you look at their defense, he was, basically one of their better players.
Yep.
And I think that he will contribute here. I believe Bosa and Khalil Mack are healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've really seen long periods of them being healthy. I think that Bosa in particular can take a playoff here and there.
Yeah.
But he's obviously, phenomenal when he's on the field. And so the Dolphins give you a lot of things to be scared about. I would imagine that Hill and Waddle is the biggest nightmare for any sort of preparation that you could possibly have against any offense in the NFL. But, and I don't know why, Rob, because I feel like we do this every year. I am going to pick the Chargers, and I'm just gonna base it on the fact that I think that their pass rush will get home. Kendricks will make a big difference for them. And yeah, Herbert will, in spite of, I think, some of the coaching deficiencies, give us some big moments and take this game in a close one.
Yeah, I think I've got here. I've like the Chargers win despite Staley. I think he's on a hot seat this year. If they don't do well, I'm surprised he's still there, to be honest. But if they don't do well,
you forget with the Chargers, they go for it on every 4th down, no matter where it is on the field. So you've got that.
It's again like with the Steelers 49ers, like week 1, we've been spoiled with these matchups. We've got incredible games in week 1, and there's others, but these just stand out to me. Like I'm listening to you talking, Paul, and then listening to you talking. I think I've changed my mind twice again since we started talking. It's going to be it's a coin toss. I see it being a 1-possession game. I don't think either of the teams will blow the other one out, just like with the 49ers game. But what a game. What a week 1.
Another game I'm going to have to watch in full, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer. So to finish things off for this week, let's go for a selection for each game in week 1. We'll tally these up throughout the whole year, have a little friendly competition between the 3 of us to see who finishes with the best record overall. And we'll keep that tally going through the season. So week 1, Detroit, Kansas. We've already touched upon. You both are going with Kansas to win either way. I will be going Kansas to win if Kelsey's fit. If he's not playing, then I'll be going Lions. Game 2. Let's start with you, Paul. Panthers at Falcons.
Panthers at Falcons. I've got the Falcons. winning.
Nice one.
I've got the Falcons.
Falcons, and that's full house. I've got Falcons as well. Bengals at the Browns.
Bengals.
Bengals.
I'm calling upset alert. Week 1 gives us upsets, and this is the one for me. Joe Burrow is 1-3 against these Browns.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the upset. I'm taking Browns.
I was so torn. I think he's only returned to full practice today, Burrow, right? He's been a limited participant throughout the whole off season, from what I remember. He didn't remember how he started last year. Wasn't very good at the start.
Another disrupted off season.
So I am going with the Browns to upset the Bengals in a close match. Next game, we got Jags at the Colts. Paul?
Can't go with the Colts this early. The Jags are going to win in Indianapolis against the rookie.
The Colts have lost, the Colts have not won an opener in like 8 straight years. I'm taking the Jags.
And again, I'm taking the Jags as well. I can't bet against Trevor Lawrence against Richardson. Not in week 1. I'm going with the Lawrence. Bucks at the Vikings.
Vikings.
Yep. Vikings for me.
Enough said.
Yeah. Simple. Titans at the Saints.
I've got the Titans going in there and winning on the road.
I've also got the Titans.
I've got the Saints. Saints at home. Maybe foolishly, I think Carr's going to have a good year this year. We'll find out in a few days. 49ers at the Steelers. Obviously, we've already got Paul, you were saying 49ers. Jay, you said the Steelers, right?
Yep.
We're going with the 49ers in this game. Then we've got Cardinals at the Commanders.
Commanders.
Yeah. That Cardinals team could be one of the worst NFL teams based off of their week 1 roster.
Marquise Brown will be traded by the deadline.
It's shocking. It's an embarrassment, to be honest with you. But yeah, good for the Washington Commanders in week 1. Texans at the Ravens.
I mean, this ain't going to be close. The Ravens are going to destroy the Texans.
Yeah.
Ravens and take the spread.
Yeah. What is the spread? Is it about 7 or 10, something along them lines?
10, I think.
Yeah, I like that spread there. Yeah. Green Bay at Chicago.
I've got the... Who did I pick? I picked the Packers to win.
Packers.
I've gone with the Bears. Maybe I got a bit caught up in Fields mania from watching a few of his games last year where he's really hard to stop. And I guess time will only tell, but I don't see a player in Jordan Love. But we'll find out soon enough. Las Vegas against Denver.
Let me see what I did. I went the Broncos.
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yep, me too. Broncos. Eagles at the Patriots.
I think this is perfectly set up for the Patriots. I'm going with New England.
Okay.
Billy O'Brien is a good offensive coordinator.
He is.
And he will get... Mac Jones was screwed last year. Really screwed over. But I'm going to take the Eagles.
I don't think the Pats are going to look as bad as they did last year, but they're playing, in my opinion, top 2 or 3 team in the NFL, so I'm going with Eagles. Then we got Miami Chargers. I think we touched upon, Paul, you're going with Dolphins. Me and Jay are going with the Chargers. Right? Perfect. And then Rams at the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yeah, full house Seahawks for me. Dallas at the Giants.
I've got the Giants.
I've got the Cowboys.
I've got the Cowboys. And then Buffalo at the Jets. What a Monday night game we've got in store there.
I've got the Bills.
Oh, two of my favourite quarterbacks. I'm going to say it again. Jets, 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 Jets.
I am going, obviously, based off of my MVP predictions, my AFC East prediction and Coach of the Year prediction, I'm going with the Jets. I think it's going to be a close game, but yeah, I think they're just going to pull through at home.
What a way to end week one.
There are some matchups in week one that, like, God, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, bets. We're going to finish this off now with what we want to do each week is a bet that we like.
Best bet of the week.
So, Paul, you touched upon it. Do you want to refresh everyone's memory? I believe it was a Kansas City running back, wasn't it?
Isaiah Pacheco over on the scrimmage yards.
And what was the scrimmage
yards? At the minute, it's 65.5, which I think is a steal. He's going to be on the field a ton, especially if you consider that Kelsey's not playing. It's going to be a lot of checkdowns.
Yeah,
they're going to run the ball more than they usually do, and the Lions can't stop it. Nobody.
Okay.
So, Checo over 65.5. Take it.
Perfect. And Jay, what have you got for us? I'm sure you've got something that's going to blow us away.
Okay.
No pressure.
Famous last words. But I love this bet. I really love this bet. What don't the Packers do well? They can't stop the run. What do you think Justin Fields' over-under is for rushing yards?
Oh, wow.
I'll let you guys hazard a guess.
I would quarterback. See, if he's anywhere around sort of 45, 55, I would like him going over that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think, Paul? What do you think?
From a rushing standpoint, I think there's a very good chance he gets 100, over 100.
What do you think they're setting the over/under?
The fact that you brought this up is telling me.
Yeah, what they should set it if it was you setting it.
If I'm handicapping the line, Justin Fields, a standard quarterback is 20 who can't move, like a Jared Goff is about 20. So Justin Fields against this run D should be a 55.5.
I would say, again, just because he burnt me a few times last year, I would say between 55 and 60 should be his line.
You guys are spot on. It is 59.5, and I love the over because this is a Packers run D that gives up at least a few 200-yard rushes every year. So with the way that they've used Fields to end the season last year, if they continue that, I think he could get 60 on one run.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my best bet. Famous last words.
He's so hard to bring down. All the game, there's so many times, especially towards the end of last year, where he was a one-man offense. The amount of times I thought it was third down and he was 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he still ended up making like a 20-yard gain on the play. He is a lot of them in the NFL, but he is a freak of nature, like running wise. He's going to be hard to stop. 59.5, I think he's going over that. But cool.
That leaves you, Rob.
Over to me. I'm going to go with a guy in the Miami Chargers game on a prop bet. Now, I really, really love this guy. And it's not who you think it's going to be, Jay, because the usual one is... and this is one that I would recommend everyone to take on. Jalen Waddle last year, I went over on him pretty much every game, and I think there was only 3 games that it didn't come in. For this game, it's 67.5. Last year he was in around like the high 50s, early 60s, so it's still pretty good. And I think he will probably beat that. But I'm going with a guy that I think is incredibly underrated. Got really good hands, great route runner. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be up there. Is Keenan Allen. Whenever I look at him match up against elite cornerbacks, I never finished the game thinking that cornerback had the better of him, like unless the quarterback hasn't been very good. But he turns up in the big games. His over-under is 67.5, exactly the same as Jalen Waddle. Herbert's going to be throwing the ball. Yes, he's going to do some little dink and dunks to Eckler. But with Ramsey out, I like Allen in the nice Californian weather with the sun shining down, week 1, healthy. He proved it last year when he got back from injury. Didn't really miss a step. And now he's got the full training camp under his belt. I would go over 67.5.
Great shout.
Xavier Howard or Eli Apple up against him. Every time Eli Apple's on him, I'm throwing the ball. The only thing that will go against him for that bet is pass interference on Eli Apple.
Yeah, because you won't get it, but
no,
I think it's a good shout.
Yeah. So that's it for today, guys.
Good stuff.
Love chatting to you, and looking forward to what the coming weeks unfold. We're only, what are we now? So we're only 4 hours, just over 4 hours away from the start of the NFL season. Man, can't beat this. But look forward to chatting again next week. Sure, there's going to be a fair few points that we're going to need to discuss. So thanks for your time. Enjoy the game, and let's go.